Man, I am excited to bring you this video. This is a one-on-one interview with my personal mentor, Joshua Smith. Over the years, this guy has become a close personal friend and a business partner to myself, to my wife, to my team. And we're excited to bring you this video where we really go in and we just ask Josh, what would you do if you had to start over in a brand new market? Like if we had to take all of his experience and go somewhere where we had no connections, what would you do different? So this is a longer video. I tried to cut it down, but there's just so much information here. I didn't want to shortchange you. So please just digest this video at your own pace, pause it, come back to spots that make sense to you, parts that you can really go implement. And then if you haven't already, please make sure you like the video, share it, give us your comments, and then do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you can stay notified of all the new content that I put out, as well as special content just for people who have subscribed to the channel, all right? And then as always, if you want to learn more about me or joining my team at EXP or having me as an EXP sponsor and getting access to all of my trainings and me as a personal mentor and coach, there's a link in the description, all right? Okay, I guess all we have to do now is make yourself comfortable, get a pad of paper, a pen, and let's jump into this interview with Joshua Smith, where we learn what he would do right now if he had to start all over today in a brand new market with zero prospects.
Josh, thanks for being here. I truly appreciate it. I value your time. Tell us, I think a lot of people know who you are already, but for those who don't, if you could just, introduce yourself and just give me a little bit of backstory, like how you started your career, how you got to the spot where you're at.
Yeah. Now, first off, dude, it's an honor to be here. Love, it's been an awesome journey, man, knowing you and becoming close friends. And what I love about just the path of, the success journey when you're sharing that with others is, now that I've been a mentor to others for, a long period of time, what's really, what I love is when the mentor becomes the mentee. It started off with me, like you mentioned, with the mentor relationship and helping you and coaching you, and now there's elements where like you've surpassed me in certain elements of the business, and there's elements now where like you're my mentor, and with HPA and a lot of the amazing video stuff that you do, and iron sharpens iron, man. So love you, respect you, man, and it's an honor to be here. Yeah, man. So my journey started a long time ago, dude. It's crazy to reflect back on this. Even though I just turned 40, I still feel so damn young. I know I'm not young, but I feel young, just to reflect back. I think I've almost been doing this now for 2 decades, but I jumped in at the age of 23. Real estate was supposed to be a temporary thing for me, dude. I was in the health club industry. And I was a college dropout, 23 years old. I knew at that moment in my life, for me to go out there and create the life that I wanted for myself and for my future family, I needed to get into ownership. And I had $1,000 to my name, dude, broke as a joke, no college degree. To create the facility I wanted to be able to create and open up, it was going to cost about 800 grand at that time. And so I was like, well, how do I raise the capital to go out there and do this? I can't go to a bank and get a loan. Nobody's going to bet on me at that point. And looking back and being honest, I'm like, I don't know if I would bet on me if I were these people. So I was like, okay, let me go out there and figure out a vehicle where I can go out there and raise the capital. Now, this was 2005. I just moved to Phoenix, Arizona from Michigan. So, when I jumped into the real estate industry, dude, I didn't have a sphere of influence. I didn't know anybody, I was, had nothing, and, started from scratch with that. But I was just, so at that time though, 2005, the market was very similar to what we're experiencing now, just as massive. In my perception, just like so many people's perceptions that aren't in the real estate industry, is that, dude, all these realtors are just crushing it. They're all rich. They're all making money. Now, I knew that, like, I love sales. In the health club industry, I didn't really enjoy personal training so much. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but I love sales. I love the operations element of it, the management and managing sales teams. And so I'm like, okay, I love sales. I love people, and I love hard work, dude. Like, I've always just grew up having multiple jobs. I mean, even as a kid, dude, in junior high, man, it was like, I'd get up at 4 a.m., go run 3-4 miles before school, go to school, then get done, go to wrestling practice, get done with wrestling practice, then go hit the gym for another 2 hours. So, I've always been, and then later in high school and college, having 3-4 jobs. Like, I've always just been a workhorse. I love work. It's not that I just love work. I love the way that it makes me feel when I know I'm contributing to others, and I feel of value, right? Like the least times where I feel fulfilled in life is, when I'm just not, whether helping others or I just don't feel value, and I don't care what it is. Like, if I'm just, even like when I'm on vacation, whatever, if I can help somebody do something, I just feel of more value. And so I'm like, all right, dude, like, I love people, I love sales, and I'll freaking work my ass off. So I knew that I could succeed in this real estate thing. Plus, I only had $1,000 to my name, and I hated school. So I'm like, okay, I could go do a 2-week crash course. It actually took me about 6 weeks. Jumped into real estate. And man, hit the ground running. Did 48 units my first year. At the end of that year, I wanted to double my business, but it was, I couldn't figure out a way to do it on my own, because you got to remember in 2005, we didn't have smartphones. There was no DocuSign. Like shit just took a lot longer to do. And so I'm sitting there thinking, well, how do I double my business when I'm already grinding all these hours? And I knew I needed I needed help. I needed to delegate certain things. And a blessing that I had is growing up in the health club industry. My dad owned and operated gyms for 30 years. So I was able to watch him open up facilities and expand that business. And so I had experience with building sales teams, dude. I had experience with the hiring process and starting new locations, doing pre-sales. And then you get to a certain level of memberships, then, okay, well, then we can start to hire an assistant, and, then you start building out your sales team. And so I had experience with that, not in the real estate industry, but in other industries. So, I was blessed to kind of know how that process works. So hired my first assistant, that blew us up to 103 units the next year. Then I started adding agents, and so forth. And then, very quickly, about 2 years into the industry, man, I realized at that point that the health club industry was my passion, but real estate became my obsession, man. So then, I never looked back from that point, and here I am, almost 18 years later, still, on this amazing journey in this amazing industry of real estate that we're all blessed to be in.
Well, and you're not just in the business, you're thriving and continuing to level up at every turn. And that's one thing I've admired about you. I heard your numbers and, set those as benchmarks for what I wanted to do when I first got in the business. But you touched on something that I really love there, is that I don't think a lot of people take advantage of their prior experience, because I know transitioning into real estate is a lot different. I've got this theory that you have to break the mold for your sphere because they see you one way. So a lot of people always saw me as the dude that just worked in restaurants, bounced around with different jobs, wasn't really dependable. So when I got my license, they didn't take into account the 7 years I had just spent in REO and mastering valuations and contracts and negotiations and all that. So I really had to break them down to get them to change their perception of me. But I think that there's a lot of people that jump into the business that have had success previously, or they've had a model for success. And I love that you took what you saw your dad doing with the gyms and saying, you're smart enough to say, I can turn this and I can figure out how to make this work for what I'm doing right now. And I think some people drop that. They forget their skills. They're salespeople that come from, I've got a great new agent that was doing furniture sales before, but when I take him out to go see buyers or sellers, he kind of clams up. And so we had to have that conversation the other day. I said, look, you're still doing your consultative sales. It's just on a larger scale. You're still telling them the benefits and features of the home, of the neighborhood. You're answering questions about this specific house, which is now their product. So I just love that you took it, but then you continue, you just leveled it up. And now you're at a playing field that whenever I think I'm doing well, I just look at some of the stuff you're doing and I'm just exhausted. I'm like, dude, I'm so far behind what this dude's doing, because you kind of have put your foot on the gas and you just never took it off. You just continue to level up. So I love it. What I love is that you've been through every single market, right? There's a lot of agents that have gotten in right now, just like you're saying. 2005 was the time where it seemed like if you got your license, you'd get a listing, you'd get a sale, you'd get a commission. And it seemed like a lot of agents got in the business as it became a seller's market, thinking it would be easy. Interest rates are kind of going up right now, and it's not as easy as people thought to get the listings, to get the buyers. But where you have seen every single market, you have the unique vantage point of knowing how to succeed in every single market. So I love that. And that's what leads me into what I want to talk about today. So today, what I want to do, and for anybody who wants more information on Josh, we've got all the information in the description. So you can go check out his YouTube channel where he's got interviews with some of the biggest players in the business. You can also get some of his tips, like health tips, how do you stay motivated, pretty much any way you want to shape your business or your life. Josh has a video or a solution for. So make sure you go check that out. But what I want to talk about in this one specifically is I want to talk about if you were to take all of your experience, all your education, almost 2 decades worth of selling homes, and we moved you to, let's say Dallas, Texas. Your family picks up, we moved to Dallas, Texas. You don't know anybody there. You don't have any social connections. You're a brand new agent in that market. How would you go about growing your business? Because I'm curious to see if it's different from how you grew it in 2005 when you first landed in Phoenix.
Yeah, the thing is I did it right out of the gate. And I'll get into this because there's some things that I did wrong, but it wasn't my plan and strategy for growing my business and obtaining business out of the gate that I did wrong. It was other kind of fundamental business fundamentals that I missed that created an insane amount of pain about 4 years into this industry for me, that I'll hit on and talk about here as well. But, like I said, man, I just moved 2,000 miles away. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a sphere of influence. I didn't have money in the bank. I spent my last $1,000 just to get my real estate license. And then from there, not only did I spend that last $1,000 to get my real estate license, I had to hang up getting my license. I passed the test and all of that, but then I got arrested a couple of years prior in Michigan for just being a drunk, stupid college kid. And I didn't do anything terrible, but I had a misdemeanor on my record, and I had to disclose that. And they needed an original police report, so it took almost like a month.
Oh, geez.
Right? So then now I'm like, okay, but it didn't make sense for me to go get another job, whatever. So now I'm having to do like credit card cash advances just to, but one of the blessings of that time, and one thing I always say is that pain and power come from the same place. So many people today, especially more than any other time I can think in human history, run from pain, try to avoid pain. They just want this like pain-free life. And you gotta learn to embrace pain and love pain. And I'm not saying to be like sadistic and like, oh, I want to go inflict pain on myself. But those painful moments is how we grow, how we expand. So what I did during that time is I took advantage of that 30 days and I went out there and I identified any top producer in my market that I could that would have a conversation with me. And I started interviewing them. Okay, like, well, what did you do? What are you doing? If you were me, brand new, how would you structure this? What would you do? So going into the day that I had my license, I already had a business plan. I already had a game plan. I already knew what the fuck to go out there and start doing and grinding and crushing it, with that. And I'll get into that. But first I want to get into the mistakes. And this is something that I work with my agents on. I'm no longer in production. I operate a large team here in Phoenix, Arizona, and we did about $200 million in gross volume sales last year. We're on track to about $300 million this year. So we continue to grow each and every year, but I stepped out of personal production about 6 years ago. So my job now is just coaching and providing support and making sure my agents, armed to go out there and crush it in their careers. And these are some kind of these foundational things that I make sure that they have in place before they get out there and start pounding the pavement, dude. Because I see that again, the pain that this caused me 4 years into my career. This is why people get burnt out, man. This is why then people start hitting a capacity of next thing you know, they're closing 2-3 deals a month, but they're busy, right? But then now they're too busy to be able to step back and put these fundamentals in place, but they're not busy enough and making enough money where they can afford to then take that step back and, so forth. So the first thing is to make sure that you have clarity on what you want, why you want it, why it's important. There's nothing more powerful in this life than having crystal clarity on what you want. So I look at your real estate as just a vehicle that allows you to go out there and build and create the life that you want to go out there and live. And look, you don't need to love what you do to love what you do. Like there's a lot of this industry that can become, mundane, tedious, pain in the ass, headaches, whatever. But the reason why I'm so obsessed with this industry, I love this industry so much, is I've never seen another vehicle that allows a loser like me to within 6 months be making more money than attorneys and doctors and whatever. So I've never seen an industry that has a more level playing field, right? Like you and I have a mutual friend, Guillermo, who, has a real estate empire, dude. And the dude is blind, right? So it's the most level playing field where it doesn't matter how tall you are, short you are, fat, skinny, thin, doesn't matter how thick your accent is, what your IQ is. He or she that's most committed that goes out there and wins, right? So, but it's okay if I got this vehicle, if I'm going to go out there and grind each and every day at building this vehicle, what do I want? Eventually it must reciprocate. And this is how I look at business now. Any business venture I'm getting involved in, I define what winning down the road looks like. So if I sacrifice 5-10 years of blood, sweat, tears, whatever, what must that business then reciprocate and give back to me to make all of that sacrifice worth it and get clear? So like, what is this real estate vehicle allowing me to live? How is it allowing me to live the life that I want to live? What is the life I want to live? What is winning in life to me, and so forth, and doing it in such a way where then and you can start breaking down each and every day the activities that you're doing, what it's leading to, right? It's getting you one step closer to living the life that you want to live. But so many of those decisions, another mutual friend of ours, Armando and Nalika, they came to me years ago and they're like, hey, we want to grow this real estate business that allows us to travel full time, travel the globe. Right. We want to take our kids out of school, put them in homeschool and still work each and every day, but have our office be hotel rooms. Okay. Well, they had to start making different decisions. Maybe they're brilliant at door knocking. Well, they couldn't make their business reliant on door knocking 100 doors a day because that would then block this. So every decision that you make then needs to be congruent with what that end game plan is. And when I got in the business, dude, I just want to make money and stack capital capital. And next thing I know, 4 years into this, I'm making more money than I ever thought was possible. But dude, I'm freaking miserable. I'm working for him at midnight. I didn't know why I was here. I was more miserable than when I was broke, but I didn't have that clarity on what I really wanted for an ultimate life plan. The second thing was not having I didn't track my data. I wasn't tracking my numbers, tracking my data. And here's the thing is you're not committed to your real estate business unless you track your data at a very high level, because you can't make smart, intelligent decisions. You can't make this business predictable if it's not measured, and so you don't know what's working. You don't know how to allocate your money, your time, your energy, and so forth. So get clarity on what is it you want, why it's important to you, what winning after 5, 10, 15, however long it takes, like that you put into this business, right? What does that create for you? Plus it becomes, again, that compass, that North Star that allows each of those decisions that you're making to ensure that they're congruent with that thing. Then from there, tracking. Me, it's funny to think that I didn't track for the first four years. When people meet me today, they get kind of shocked by that because I'm so obsessed with tracking and having that data so I can make those decisions. And then from there, just understanding the power of systems and processes. It really, dude, I didn't really start dialing in on systems and processes until REO hit. Because at that point there was no choice. Like you had to, become a systems and process freak, to handle the volume and to service your asset managers in the way. But immediately discovered the power in those. And that's what allowed me to scale. There's only two things that allow you to scale in this business, which are going to be your systems. So processes are just the step-by-step actions that you take. Systems are where those processes live, right? So it's going to be systems, and then people. But people will become irrelevant if you don't have good systems for them to plug into. So, for the scalability standpoint. So I really like knowing that, and people, and the reason I'm bringing this up is most just don't even think. I meet so many agents that have been in this business for decades, dude, that still have, not clarity on what they want, why it's important to them, that aren't tracking their data, and don't have their systems and processes dialed in. It used to be that you could be, if you were willing to work your ass off and put your clients' needs before your commissions and do a great job for your clients, you could be a top producer in this industry. No longer is that the case. That's just the ante to be in the game, dude. Like you got to be a great operator to go out there and scale and do big things in this business and be a top producer. So then from there, then what would I go out there and do? And what did I do? And what would I go out there and do if I was moving to a new market, didn't know anybody, and so forth? So the first thing I would do is, and this is something that I did do, is I would do my market research. And I would look at, I really wanted to break down what could be my competitive advantage. I looked at, okay, where's the agent saturation in our market? So in my market, as an example, everybody wanted to be in the Scottsdales, the Biltmore area in Phoenix, the kind of the sexy markets, the more luxury markets. I started looking at, okay, well, where are the markets where there's big opportunity, but also agents don't want to go. Like almost agents, kind of shun the, like, oh, you work that market, like you're out there, like I started working all these outside suburbs of the Phoenix metro area that were like, 40, 45 minutes from downtown. That again, like a lot of it, there weren't big producers in those markets. And when I'd go to real estate, networking conferences or so forth, people were like, well, you're in Surprise, Arizona, you're in Buckeye, Arizona. Like, why are you there? Why are you there? I'm like, I'm there for the exact reason that you're asking that question, that you had that look on your face, right? Because then you had all these people relocating to these markets from outside of Phoenix, plus in Phoenix, that were moving out to these different markets. Well, they didn't have realtors in those markets. They didn't have connections in those markets. And there was so much growth going on, so I looked at that, just looking at that and really breaking down where can you have that competitive advantage, and that translates to today's market. We're looking at this and thinking, okay, with our market, I'm always looking at who's buying real estate, who's selling real estate. So where's the opportunity at? What's the product and price points and so forth. So in my market right now, it's upper middle class, it's the affluent, and it's institutional investors. Right now, if I don't want to go out there and compete with these institutional investors, okay, well then I can identify there. So institutional, they're the BlackRocks of the world. And in our market, they're very competitive. They're coming in, and it's not even like the 20 different offers from the consumers that we're really competing against. It's the $50,000 offer from BlackRock that's beating out everybody that's coming in and swallowing up so much real estate. So it's okay. Well, I can identify what their buy box is and where they're buying and so forth. And then I can identify, okay, what if I know that, And if I don't want to have to compete with them, okay, then I just go niche down and outside of their buy box, where then they're a non-issue for me, or I can figure out ways then to be, if I want to compete with them, I can either figure out ways to work and collaborate with them and grow with them, or get competing products that I can offer my consumers to go out there and be more competitive, with them, and so forth. So, so be very strategic about the markets that you pick. It's like, if I'm going to go open up a coffee shop, and maybe it's going to be a luxury style coffee shop, like a Starbucks, or maybe even a level up from that. And where am I going to plot my location? Am I going to plot my location at a building where people that are there, maybe it's, oh, well, dude, it's close by my house and I just love the location. Yeah, right. Well, maybe that location, those demographics in that location, maybe they want the 50-cent Circle K coffee, dude. Maybe they're not willing to pay the $7 a cup of coffee. Right. I need to plot my location not where I want to be. I need to plot my location where's the best opportunity for growth and for that. So so many people, like I hear advice of, start marketing your own neighborhood. Well, that might be the dumbest piece of fucking advice you could ever get. How saturated is your neighborhood? How many other dominant agents are in there? What does this look like? Like making sure that you do your due diligence with that. So that's number one. And then from there, this is something that you hit on earlier of identifying what your skill sets are. So I had to look at this of okay, well, how do I want to grow my sales business? Like what kind of a salesperson am I? What are my strengths? So for me, I love inbound marketing. I'm not so much of an outbound marketing person. I love inbound. I like people coming to me, right? So when I start breaking this stuff down and understand this, okay, well, I'm not going to go, if I'm not good at, or my strength isn't cold calling, right? But if I do enjoy online marketing and getting people come to me, okay, well, that shows me where my focus is going to be. When we were in school, we used to get graded on our weaknesses, right? Now what's cool about the business world, dude, is you can just say, fuck up my weaknesses, dude. I'm going to go in all on my strengths, and identify that. So, first thing is that I identify where the locations are and be strategic with that. And with locations, we also got to take into account of what's moving, what's selling, who's our ideal client and so forth, which we can go deeper in that later in the podcast if you want to. Then from there, I'm going to get very, very strict on my strategy. So I looked at this, going back to the health club example. I was like, okay, people would come in, we'd market, do online marketing and direct mail and so forth. And we get people to come into the facility. So they come in, they stop at the front desk, they fill out a guest registry. So I look at that guest registry, introduce myself, and then with that guest registry, so the whole touring process. So they come in, they stop at the front desk, they fill out a guest registry. Now, my whole objective during that tour was, number one, to connect with them. Just connect with them on a human level and develop that rapport and so forth. But then from there, to identify what their goals are. They're walking in that door for a reason. So what are their goals? And then from there, if I've developed that connection, I develop that rapport, and then I articulate that we're the best facility and the best place for them to get from where they're at to where it is that they want to go, then boom, I'm going to get that sale. Right. So I started looking at that whole process. I'm like, dude, that's open houses. Yeah. Right. Like it's exact same thing. Other than selling a membership, I'm selling them on me and my services and my job to help them go out there and accomplish their real estate goals. So then I knew, okay, boom, I'm going to jump into open houses. And dude, I did more open houses probably than anybody on this planet. But it allowed for 48 deals my first year. Got my first client in the first 3 days of doing the business, with that, developing your sphere of influence. I look at this and how I treated this, and I would treat this if I was starting in a brand new city is now I'm going to develop my sphere of influence through my real estate business. So many people think of this as leads and think of this as, look, every lead in your system, they're not a number, they're not a lead, right? This is a human being. This is somebody's mother, grandfather, son, daughter, and I look at it that way. And so I'm just going out there. I'm just trying to create as many friends as I possibly can. The way I look at the real estate game being, get people to know you, like you, trust you, be aware of what you do for a living, follow frequently, keep your message in front of them frequently, your business grows. So each and every day, I know that the highest objective especially when I'm trying to grow my business out of the gate, I need to meet new people today that were not aware of me yesterday, offer them something of value in exchange for their contact information, and then continue with that follow-up process. So I'm just going out there, hey, how do I create more friends? How do I develop more friends, with that? But I'm going to have strategy behind it. Right. And then I'm going to be part of my strategy, though, is I'm going to be very strategic on the locations that I want to work, and when I'm looking at those locations, I'm looking at agent saturation. Is there opportunity there? Is there enough, overturned real estate there, people buying and selling? I had one of my agents come to me about a year ago and they were like, my ideal clients, first time buyers, that $200,000 to $300,000 price point. I'm like, look, it doesn't matter how good you are at generating leads and helping these clients. You cannot help them in this market. What they are looking for doesn't exist in our market. Right. So you're just wasting your time. You got to combine this with where the opportunity is at in our given market.
Yeah, dude, I love that. I love what you said about the way that you look at people, because I've heard you say this before, and it's one thing that influenced Kim and I when we got started, because we store, and we've had people look for our phone, especially like our kids and things, and they don't understand. We'll have somebody like, we could have in there Josh Smith hyphen FICH. And people always say Fitch. Who are all these Fitch people? That's such a weird last name. And that's our acronym for Family I Can Help. So anytime we met with somebody that we were going to impact with real estate in one way or another, they're always labeled in our forms and in our contact as Fitch, so that we're staying top of mind with that it's not like, I know Darren Hardy has a great story about his hit sheet when he first got started in real estate and couldn't figure out why he wasn't doing business. And his mentor looked at his list of prospects, but Darren had written hit list at the top, and then had all these names that he was going to follow up with. And the mentor says to him, I wouldn't want to be on a hit list for anybody. How do you change that? And so with ours, it's families I can help. How can we help them? How can we serve them? I love the open house thing, because you know what you're saying. I know from going through your course and from knowing you and your students and a lot of mutual friends, that you take that same advice with the open house, where you're promoting not the house you're in love with, but the house that is the best storefront, right? So what are the best connecting streets? Can I get my signage? How easily can I get people to the open house? Desirable community, neighborhood. Does the home look good? So I love that you follow that same strategy with, the open houses and everything you do of what's the most efficient, effective plan. So let me ask you a question, because we're home partners. Like, that's our primary crux. That's what we came down and trained Armando and Malika on. I see that as the same concept. I'm curious what your thoughts are, because when you're saying you go to a new market, you'd look and you'd say, who's buying, where they're buying, where's the concentration, where's the saturation? Would you approach that with a program or with a strategy? Because that's what we did with Home Partners. Is we said, look, nobody wants to touch the rental market in Utah. We don't get paid rental commissions. They're garbage. So if somebody can't buy a home right now, nobody's helping them. So what we saw as the saturation was all these agents that want to work with first-time home buyers. But if those people can't qualify for a home right now, or they're not ready to make the financial commitment to a home, they had no plan for them. And they would just put them on a 6 to 12 to 24 month long-term drip, hoping that eventually they'll become qualified for financing. And then they'll want to continue to come work with you. And we found that if we want to avoid the saturation, we have to go after this market, these renters that nobody else has offered a solution to. And that was really what turned our business, was we can offer a solution nobody else has. So even if our market's saturated with buyers, it's not saturated with our program yet. Would you look for something similar to that? Because I love your idea of the market saturation. Would you look at a strategy that nobody's doing?
Yeah. So, and I might look at it different than others, from this, but I look at, so with my lead generation strategy framework, it's, you get clarity on who your ideal client is. So when I'm looking at who my ideal client is, it's okay, where's the opportunity at? Ideal clients in a perfect world would be who you like working with the most, who you connect with the most, who sends you the most repeat referral business. That's a perfect world, but the world isn't always perfect. In 2008, during the great financial crisis, I had to shift my business from really my true ideal client, traditional move up buyers, to short sales and REOs, right? Well, dude, I didn't necessarily enjoy short sales and REOs, especially, with REO, man. I mean, you become a human punching bag for a lot of these asset managers and, so forth. So, but it wasn't so much of the enjoyability. It's like, dude, almost 90% of the sales in my market at that time were short sales or REO. So where is that opportunity at? So I'm like, okay, well, who's my ideal client? And this is something that, I know you and I talked about a lot. And I think you alluded to this in the beginning of the podcast, but not in these exact words. But I have the mindset, in the personal philosophy of there is no such thing as a good or bad market. The market is always good for somebody. It's our job to identify whom the market is good for, and then go out there and position our marketing, prospecting, and so forth to whom the market is good for. So I mean, real estate is always traded hands, always will, always, right? So many people get like the market itself has nothing to do with anybody's success. Success is internal. It's never external. If you are not succeeding in the given market that you're doing, it's because your strategy fucking sucks, period. Right. So then from there, my ideal client's going to be shifting as markets shift. My ideal client 3 years ago was vastly different than it is today. So who's my ideal client? And then from there, I figure out their demographics, their psychographics. Then I identify where they congregate. So where they, hang out, spend time offline and online. And then I identify, okay, what are my strengths? Meaning, how do I want to go out there and grow my business? Right. Well, then that gives me who I'm targeting, what my message is going to be. where my message shows up and how my message is going to be delivered, right? So that then combines my lead strategy framework, and that works in any given market. Then from there, what you're alluding to is, because this is the second layer now too, once we've identified our ideal client and we have that strategy, then from there, you got to look for your unique selling propositions. You like, what's your unique value add? So I look at this as, all right, dude, I got this toolbox that to go out there and help my ideal clients. I want as many different unique tools inside that toolbox to help my ideal clients that I possibly can. So I don't know, you got a leak in your house and you call me up, I'm a plumber, whatever. I don't know what I'm necessarily getting into. You just want the leak fixed. So I show up there, I'm looking at that. Well, the more tools that I have with me in my truck, the more opportunity I have to solve that leak immediately and minimize damage and accomplish the goals that you have for that call with me, right? And that's my job. So I'm looking at this as those are my unique selling propositions, and so forth. So and I want as many of those as I possibly can. And home partners that we've learned this from you, and I put all my agents actually through your program because it's just so brilliant. It's the best one that we've seen out there. And last year we did just over $40 million with just HPA. It's becoming this year, we might even double that. It's becoming such a huge portion of our business, especially with rising interest rates, because we saw prices going up, but now interest rates skyrocketing. Interest rates at the beginning of this year, they're up 2.04% as of, and so in 5 months span, they went up 2.04%. What that translates to is 20.4% less purchase power for the consumer. So in my market, a $500,000 house as the first of this year, so January 1st, 2022, now the same payment is going to be translate to a $398,000 house, right? So affordability is getting less and less and less, meaning we got to have more tools to help our ideal clients and so forth. And HPA has been a huge one of those, but you got to obsess with this, right? And this is why when people talk about in this industry, in all industries, that the riches are in the niches, this is why that holds true, because the more niche down that you are, the more that you can get really intimate with understanding what your ideal clients' problems are, what their pain points are, what their problems are, and then you can proactively look for solutions for what those problems are. And he or she that solves their ideal clients, the consumer's problems at the highest level, goes out there and wins. Why is Jeff Bezos, one of the richest human beings on the planet? Is because he's solved a lot of people's problems. Dude, I can't tell you the last time I've had to step foot in a store or a mall or whatever, because Amazon just ships that shit right to my front door, allows me to spend more time with my family and do the things I love in life. And it's had a massive impact on my life, right? So he's out there changing a lot of people's lives by giving us all back insane amounts of time and making things, that element of our life very convenient. And he's continuing to get more rich and more rich, so looking at that of okay, how do I solve my ideal client's problems? So this comes down to, okay, well, what are the problems that your clients that you're trying to serve and support in this market are facing, right? So, okay, well, we're getting beat out, man. I got these buyers that, that are, I don't know, whatever, they need some closing costs help, but whatever that may be. Or maybe they're a solid finance buyer, but they can't compete with these other cash offers. Okay. Right. Well, HPA is a great offer. We're doing about 15 HPA deals a month right now through Home Partners of America. And, it solves a couple of problems, right? It gives essentially our finance buyers the ability to be cash and compete with these other, cash buyers. Then with our relocators that maybe are unsure of exactly where they want to be, it gives them a chance to test drive that property. Then from there, what we're seeing now is a lot of people are having uncertainty of, dude, I don't know if I want to buy right now because if the market's going to, is the market going to crash? Just like daily coming up more and more and more. Well, it's a great hedge against that. It's like, okay, hey, use this vehicle to go out there and then get a home. But you don't have to buy that home. You have 5 years to buy that house, and you can use that as a hedge, to go out there and do that. So HBA has been huge for that. But we went out there and looked at, okay, well, how else do we have to solve other people's problems? So we have, iBuyer platforms that we go out there because we have about 12% of the properties that are moving in our market that people want the convenience. They don't want to put their house on the market. They want an instant offer. They want to close in, 10 days to 30 days. They don't want to deal with the headaches. Okay, well, now we have iBuyer options, right? We have my ideal client for a lot of years has been move up buyers. So they own a home currently. They got a lot of equity in that home, but they need to sell that home in order to buy their new home. So they're looking to, move up. So they got home A that they're living in, home B that they want to buy. Well, in this market, they're obsolete, right? Nobody's going to accept the contingency on their home selling. So we've set up investor relationships now where our investors will come and put an offer on home A for them, let them go pick out the home that they want to buy. Our investors will buy that for them on their behalf. And then once that closes, they'll then close and buy home A for them, free up that equity that they need, and then sell them back home B. So everybody wins, right? Now we have power buyer options where our investors will essentially go out there and buy the property for our clients, pay cash for it. for a $1,500 fee, sell them that house back, right? But where they make their money is they end up being the loan servicer on the loan. So everybody wins. We have fix and flip models now where our investors, if somebody's, I don't know, if they had the funds to put 50 grand in this house, they could make 100 grand. Okay, our investors will come in, they'll fund all the flips or the repairs and so forth, and then charge a fee after we flip that property. And again, everybody wins. We have options now where, okay, hey, like with new builds, this has become a huge thing in our area where even these new builders aren't accepting contingencies. But so they're making that our home sellers, before they buy the new builds, sell those homes. Okay, well, we found investor partners now that will go on and buy those homes, allow them to lease back for up to 12 months so they can make that possible. So again, but how did I come up with these? Right? And HPA, I can't give myself credit for coming up with that because you were chasing me down for that one. And I had a lot of resistance initially to it because I just kept hearing lease purchase. I'm like, nah, dude, been there, done that. Those are a pain in the ass. I didn't see the power, but thank God you didn't give up on me and were resilient on keeping us up on that. But the others were, okay, well, what are my ideal clients' problems? And then just, okay, obsessing over how can I fix those problems? So I look at this as a blessing. I'm in the most saturated real estate market per capita on the planet. So in Phoenix, Arizona, in my MLS, there's 60,000 agents. So I'm always sitting there thinking about why would somebody choose me over the other 59,999 agents? Yeah, there's a lot of bad agents in our market, but out of 60,000, there's also a lot of other badasses. There's a lot of amazing, great agents too. So I got to be hyper competitive, with this of thinking about, okay, well, why me? What's a unique? So now we have credit repair. We have all these different things, where we can get people and position people to go out there, whether, they can't buy right now, whatever it may be. These are the tools in my toolbox to go out there and help my ideal clients. But then from there, we got to get to the table. So from a marketing perspective, we're able to go out there and market these things that our competitors aren't marketing or articulating to the consumer, that we can help them with these things, and that gets us to the table, man, and gives us more of a competitive advantage against all of our other competitors out there.
Yeah, too. I love it. I love it. So and I love what you said about niching down. Because I look at that and I say, okay, like a lot of people want to work with investors. They want to work with people who are flipping properties. It seems like a good sustainable plan because not only can you help them acquire this property up front, but then you have inventory that you can list later on down the road, and then you can get sign calls, do open houses, circle prospecting, the whole nine. But without taking the time to understand the investor's pain points, like I talk to very few people who want to start working with investors that understand the carrying costs of a hard money loan. They don't understand that it's a 1% or more interest per month. It's interest only. It's not going towards a reduction in principal. So the longer this project is taking, the more expensive it is for the investor, the more that's impacting their net recovery or their net return on this property. And I found success just by understanding, like I would say for agents, like when you specialize, you have to, like Josh says, you have to become obsessive with it. So if I'm working with an investor and I know people want to flip homes, I know what the price per square footage is for carpet at all different levels, for FHA grade level, for high-end carpet. I know what luxury vinyl flooring costs. I know where to get it, the different types that are available. I know what it costs to remodel a bathroom, how to stub utilities into the property. Like you become obsessed with it so that when you're out there, you're gaining confidence every time you're talking to an investor. A lot of agents, I think in the investor market, they're just going out there saying, yeah, with some updates, you would get this amount of money. I know how to do an as-is value. I know how to do a repaired value. I'll go out and I'll say, I know exactly what the cost would be to turn this home into exactly what you're looking for, but I wouldn't make A, B, and C repair because we're not going to get the money on it. So I love what you're saying, like get niche down so you become that expert. That's what we did. Our first run in lead generation for Kim and I is we bought realtor.com leads, and they were super expensive. They were very competitive, but we were converting 11% of those leads into closed sales by becoming masters and understanding that we had to master something when we got out there. So I actually have,
let me add one point to that, because this is something that we're seeing this more and more. It have been, I saw some of this 2005, 2006, 2007, but then it kind of stopped when the great financial crisis happened. Everything kind of stopped at that point. But then since 2012, this has been consistently growing and expanding throughout our industry. And something that we all are feeling is the commission compression issue. Mm-hmm. Right. So we see all these discounters out there and I get reached out to so much. Now I'm not a discounter per se, not that I don't take him, everything's negotiable, right? So I'm not going to sit there and be full of shit and blow smoke and say that, look, there sometimes got to do what you got to do, make deals happen, but we focus on offering more value and creating a more convenient, better, profitable, luxurious service, which, anytime that you do that, Whole Foods is going to charge more than Walmart, right? Now they could both make money. But what I'm seeing there, and I get this so often, man, I mean, multiple times a day of agents reaching out to me of how do I compete with all these discounters in my market? I'm like, dude, you got two options. You either join them or you add more value to yourself, your services, for them. And this is just what you're talking about. Everything that you just talked about there with having that intimate knowledge that you do, that you can go out there and transfer that to your investors and help your investors navigate through that process, that makes you more valuable to them, where then the more valuable that you are to the marketplace, the more money that you're going to make. And so many agents now today want to still get their full co-broker or whatever and get all pissy and whiny about giving that up, but they're doing nothing to go out there and sharpen their skill sets and add more tools to their toolbox so they can transfer that value to their clients. And so you got to just deal in realities and be honest with yourself of like, dude, which path do I want to go? And if you're not willing to add that value, I'm not going to hate on you, but just understand that you're going to have that resistance. And like you might as well just go join the discounters then, if you're not willing to go out there and offer more value and transfer more value to the consumer, that makes it worth them paying you a premium to offer more value to them.
Yeah, dude. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I remember you and I had a conversation about a local discounter here years ago, probably about 4 years ago. I think we were driving to dinner or something like that. And I was talking to you about it and you had no concern. I was telling you, like, these guys are coming to my market. They're shitting on agents. They're saying agents suck. Don't pay them money. And you're like, I wouldn't even worry about that. And I was so struck by your confidence in that because of what you just said there. You said that's a different level of service. Just offer more service. And I love that you were so confident. You said, yeah, I wouldn't let that impact me. And we haven't seen a stop with it. But also one thing that you advised me with that I thought was fantastic, and I want to throw it in here, is that at the time that you and I spoke, I had spent all my energy being pissed off at the ads these guys were running, the message that they were giving, that real estate agents are overpaid. I thought they were deceiving the market. I didn't like anything about how they were coming out with their marketing. And you're the one that said, take a step back and say, well, they're clearly identifying a need in the market. They're identifying a pain point in the market. So how do you adjust your business to that? And because of that conversation made me stop and say, okay, what are they doing? Well, if the market thinks real estate agents are overpaid, how do I show them how I earn my money and why it's worth spending that money? And that changed everything for me. The minute I stopped hating on them, and I said, let me see what pain point they're getting in the market. And now let me modernize my business to address that pain point. And it worked. But it brings me up to a question. So I love what you said, either join those discounters or get better in a new market. Let's just say in a new market. And then maybe if you could answer for both, in a new market or if you were a new agent, what are your thoughts on the team? Would you join a team? Because I look at it as, for a new agent, I think it's smart to join a team and have an in-house mentor. And there's a whole bunch of different strategies on choosing the right mentor that we could get into on another day. But would you suggest joining a team in a new market or for a new agent? And if so, why? If not, why?
Yeah. So, and it's going to come down to clarity on what it is that somebody wants, so this might be an opposite answer that most team leaders would give, because they're like, oh yeah, join a team. But look, I never joined a team, and I thought this through very heavily at the time, and my advice today would be just how I did this and thought through it at that time. And I think that's, part of the process is like, look, you guys, one of the things that makes human beings unique versus all other species on this planet is our ability to critically think.
Mm-hmm.
The 6 inches between your ears is the most valuable asset in real estate and in your whole entire body, but most people don't utilize it. So taking a step back and really critically thinking about, about these different decisions that you're making in your business. So many people just operate from emotions. They don't take time. They don't seek the advice. They don't go out there and look, I slow down, man. I go slow before I go fast. Like I take the time to identify the best strategy and interview the right people. And a lot of times I don't know the answer. I just go out there and find the right people to get the right answers from. Now I knew that I wanted to go out there and create a business. So I looked at this, okay, joining a team will just be a step back for me of going out there, because I go out there and create my own team, right? And now with that being said, though, I knew that I needed the mentorship and the leadership that a team leader could offer. So what I did is I went out there and found the biggest, baddest ass brokerage owner and also team leader in our market. And I joined the brokerage side. So he still profited off of me. I was with him for 9 years and he was my first mentor in this industry. So he was still able to profit off of me, but I still had his guidance as mentoring me as, you know, a new agent, but then not just a new agent. I wanted to make those decisions from new agent and what are the right moves where I needed to make, you know, to becoming a team leader. And I didn't give a shit about the compensation. I didn't care. I mean, dude, it was the most expensive shop to join in my market at the time. I didn't care about what I paid. I didn't care about what I made, you know, because I didn't look at this of what am I getting. I looked at this from, you know, and Jim Rohn's been a long-term, you know, mentor. I never met him and didn't have the pleasure of meeting him when he was alive. I got into his content after the fact. You know, he talks about, you know, success is, it's a becoming process, not a doing process, right? So I knew that I needed to look at this of not what am I getting from this, but who am I becoming from this process. So I didn't give a shit about I had to pay like $1,000 a month plus percentages of my closings, plus, you know, all these other fees that I had. I didn't care about that. I cared about the knowledge that I was getting. So I still made sure to align myself with that right mentorship. That mentorship in your market and your situation might only be given to you by joining a team, you know, or you can look at this you know, like as an example, you know, with Ben, you at EXP, somebody could join in your downline without necessarily joining your team and get all of your expertise and be under your leadership because you have a vested interest in their success without having to join your team, you know, so really, but making that decision based off of what you want in the future is and what this looks like, you know. So for me, I wanted to join, create my team as quickly as I possibly could on my own. And I looked at, okay, if I joined a team and had to commit for a year or 2 years to learn all of that and then rebuild, you know, right. But I still had the mentorship so I could build it out right in the first way. So I really look at that of what's your long-term goals and you know, what do you want to go out there and build and what's the best way and the best strategy for you to go out there and do that.
No, I love that. Yeah, 100%. Because that's one question I have too for you. Because I look at it as saying, like, before EXP, my goal was to go brokerage. I was like, that's what I want to do. I'm going to get my broker license. I'm going to go the brokerage route. And really, the model there was saying I was actually going to join some kind of existing model for brokerage. I didn't want to go out and reinvent the wheel. I would say, okay, I'm going to sign up with this brokerage. And I'm going to go learn how to do it. I'm going to learn my systems. I'm going to learn my processes. I'm going to learn how to hire people. I'm going to learn how to account for attrition. I'm going to learn how to keep people like I'm going to learn all this from a broker standpoint, how to manage my files, my transactions, go through brokerment, whatever it is. And then when I'm comfortable, I can reevaluate and say, is it best to stay in this spot? Or do I now go rebrand and open my own brokerage now that I have the success to be there? And it sounds like that's what I think the advantage of the team is. Like you're saying, if I can go somewhere and I may be giving up some more money up front, John Cheplack said it fantastic, whereas you're paying somebody for their expertise. You're paying somebody to take all the knowledge that they have and basically give you the fast track, because we don't want to spend the next year or two just going out and hashing it on our own and failing. I think that's why so many agents fail, is they come in with these huge expectations that I just got my license. I'm going to go post on Facebook that I now have my license. And all of a sudden people are going to be beating my door down to list their property or help them buy a property. And that's just not the case. You're competing against an average of 11 or 12 other agents that this one person knows. And without the right guidance, because it kind of leads into something else, with is like choosing the right mentor, which we can get into. But I love that you had said that you looked for, was the agent, the broker that you went under, in addition to just being the top, did they have the lifestyle that you wanted? Was that an attraction to it, where you said, if I traded places, I would trade places with this person right now? Or what was that?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, I've never wished to be somebody else other than me, so I wouldn't say trade places, but when I looked at, it was, because at the time I didn't necessarily wasn't looking, I was just looking for a brokerage, right? So, but I was like, look, I want to go find the person that, I want to be in the next 20 years, right? So that created the type of success, at least in real estate, that I wanted to create. So I went out there and found the most successful dude, the biggest badass that I possibly could find. And that was crushing it. But also, that also operated by my core values. That was sharing, that was giving, that wasn't arrogant, that, that I could relate to. And, and I interviewed a lot, man, and invested time in that process. And like I said, they actually wouldn't take me on initially, because they didn't take on new agents. I had to talk my way into getting in the door. And I had to pay $1,000 a month. I had to pay another $500 a month. They mandated you to lease an office in the space, and you had to have like furniture in the space. And it's just beautiful office, right? And I remember like a month or two into starting there, I couldn't afford the furniture. So I just kind of lied like, oh, get the furniture. Yeah. Dude, I had 2 steel file cabinets that I was gifted. I had a piece of particle board is the top, and I had a freaking lawn, like a lawn chair, dude. And I remember him coming in, like knocking on the door to come check on me one day. And he peeks his head in the office. I'm like, fuck, like I'm busted, dude. And I'm like, hey man, I got deals in the pipeline. As soon as I get my first commission check, it's going into furniture, whatever. And he just looks at me like, just keep the door closed. And, but I didn't get, I wanted to be, because I believe in success through osmosis. I wanted to be in his presence. Just like when the market started crashing, dude, and started, before it started crashing, before it started turning, we could see that something was going on there. I just went to him and I just asked him, I said, like, where's this going? He goes, all he had to say to me was short selling REO. Like I got Google, I can go figure this stuff out, but he was able to point me in those right directions. And it's so crucial. And, everything that I operate by is, I'm a big, if you ever take the wealth dynamics test, I'm classified as an engineer. So I've got this, like to me, it's a very methodical mindset. So I operate off of frameworks. And I've created over the years what I define as my success framework, which is get clarity. So think of framework as a model or an equation, right? So starts off with, and it doesn't matter how big or small that this is, but get clarity on what you want, why you want it, why it's important to you. That then becomes the goal. Then from there, you make the decision to make the mental decision to fully commit to that goal. And this might look like it's a duh thing, but you really got to break this down and understand this. There are certain opportunities that are approached to me or that I have and have had that I break down and they look amazing. I want those things. But as I break down and assess the amount of energy, attention, and time that thing will take to make that a reality. And then I look at, okay, well, I got 3 young kids at home. Like I don't want to be an absentee father. Like, is that sometimes I'm like, hey, I'm not like this, the negative downsides and the sacrifices aren't worth making this goal a reality. So it's really going through those assessments and really thinking this thing through. So once I make that decision, hey, I'm fully committed to this, no matter how long it takes, how much resistance I'm going to experience, like I'm in this, right? Like there's no plan B, it's burn the ships, like I'm fucking in this, right? Then from there, and this goes back to your question, how do you identify mentors and so forth? Then from there, it's identify the best proven plan to get you from point A, like from where you're at to where it is that you want to go. So then I invest that time to identify the best proven and proven it being the key word there. So I'm going to go out there and identify, okay, who's where I was and create the success I want to create. And I'll go out there and do my due diligence. And sometimes it might be several different people, but I'm going to look at like who's done it, man. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. The great thing is about in our industry and what we're all trying to accomplish is we're not trying to become Elon Musk that's trying to, revolutionize interstellar space travel and do something that hasn't been done before. Others have done what we're trying to achieve and do. So, okay, I'm going to identify the best proven plan to get me from where I'm at to where it is that I want to go. Then from there, once I identify the best proven plan, then I just got to execute, right? And then if I do that, I continue executing until that goal becomes a reality, then boom, it equates to success. And that's how I look for my mentors, man, is who has been where I'm at and has created the success in this element of life or business that I want to create, that I want to be like, who's done it, who's proven it, who's already went through all the headaches, the pain. So in a year, I can figure out in a 12-month time frame what might have taken them 30 years to do and figure out. And it's the ultimate hack to success. My favorite Picasso quote is, good artist steal, great artist copy. So like, I'm just like the ultimate time hack, dude, is, the things that anytime I have a new goal in my mind, the first question I identify or I go through my head is, who's the best person to learn from? Who's the best person to steal, that I can go out there and reverse engineer the plan from? I don't have to, I don't have the guesswork. Now I just need to execute. Now execution in itself is hard as fuck, right? But if I can eliminate the guesswork of, well, here's 50 different roads for me to go down, and then I got to waste and exhaust all this time going down these roads. And then by the time I identify the right road, now I'm so freaking exhausted. No, I just want to be able to focus my time on being disciplined to execute on the shit I know works that I got to execute on. And that's all I have to do. Right. And then I can exhaust my energy and time and attention on just that execution element.
Dude, I love that. I love that. It's 100%. This is why I get so much value out of just talking to you. Like everything you're saying, I'm thinking about other areas of my business and my life that this is totally applicable to. So as you're talking, I'm making these mental notes that I got to come back and scrub and dive into some things. So I love that. I do want to talk because I agree with you 100% on choosing the brokerage, choosing a team, choosing a mentor. Do they have the systems? Do they have the processes? And even if you're going to look at I wouldn't switch lives, but can they give me what I'm looking for? And I've had a lot of conversations with people over the last week about joining my EX team and not just the sponsorship, but the actual team. And it seems like the number one pain point that I'm talking to with people is they're at or they're considering a brokerage or a team that has been in the business a long time, but has not advanced with technology. So their whole lead generation strategy is still hung up on call FSBOs, call expireds, go do door knocking, do farming, things like that. Farming, I've never done farming. I've listened to what you did for farming, and that was enough for me to say, I don't want to farm an area, because you put thousands of dollars into it for how long? Nine months plus before you started seeing any kind of return for farming with mailers?
Yeah, I mean, we would, it was a 9-month average lead time before we'd start getting the acceptable ROI I was looking for, which was one closed sale per 2,500 mail pieces sent. So yeah, it's slow to scale.
Yeah. That's what I was looking at saying. If it's like that, that's probably not the best strategy for somebody out the gate. Maybe for long term, like I know we do mailers, but we do them with Boomerang. So it's past clients and our sphere, so they get a mailer that is a coupon code that has our face and everything on it. But that's what I see is a lot of people have jumped in, and they may have seen somebody be successful, but that success is based and predicated on systems that really aren't relevant today. Like I'm not a cold caller. I would never sit down and cold call, but we both know people who that just sit and crush it all day long, and that's what they want to do. Does that factor in when you're looking at either a team or a brokerage that they have mastered the strategy that you've decided you're comfortable with and that you want to do?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, here's the thing, dude, is now how teams are structured. Every team, there's so many different types of teams, and there's, different structures and so forth, with that. Like as an example, when I was, a big REO shop, agents were joining me and wanted to join me because they wanted to get into REO, and they wanted to sign call listings from the REO. And, so they were joining a team that their business was built off of my business that was being generated for them, right. But so there's a lot of different models. My model today is vastly different to that. But the way that I look at this, and it's changed through the years, but, I'm very strong in my beliefs on this. Today is that a broker or a team leader, however you want to look at it, a team is just a brokerage inside of a brokerage, and first off, just so you guys that are watching, listening, with this know is I don't believe in this, there's a best brokerage or best setup for, there's not a best. You got to identify what the best is for you.
Yeah.
Like I'm not with EXP. It's the best, for Ben and what he's looking to do and grow and expand. And, and for me, like I look at long-term exit strategies. So for me, going the brick and mortar traditional brokerage route of, I've got my team, but then partner on an actual brokerage as well. And, I look at that of the long-term exit strategy being more important to me than maybe the leveraging for the rev share, so it can be different for everybody. And there's no right or wrong. Like we know, we have some mutual friends that are just doing insane things with EXP that like is just mind blowing, dude. Right. So, but again, it's understand there's no best out there. If there was, there'd only be one brokerage or one, right? It's identifying what's best for you. Then from there, and this is my perspective with this as a brokerage, owner and a team leader, if you will, my agents are my clients. So I work for them. They don't work for me. So my job, and this is what for you agents listening to this, the way that I recommend to look at this is you need to identify the best team leader and the brokerage owner that is they exist in your world to help you get from where you're at to where it is that you want to go. So who can do that? Who can articulate, like, look, dude, my agents don't do a lot of open houses today. Even though it's how I grew my business, it's not how the vast majority of my agents today grow my business. I got to look at the lead generation strategy framework I walked through you guys earlier on. I got to look at what are their strengths, we got to design their business for them individually based on that and develop that plan. So this is where when a great litmus test is go down to a team leader, broker owner, and be like, okay, here's where I'm at. Here's where my goals. Articulate what you would identify as the best plan to get me from where I'm at to where I want to go. And if they can't articulate that to you in 15 or 20 minutes, they're probably not the right fit for you, right? Their role in your life is to exist to help you get from where you're at to where you want to go and the way that you want to grow there. Like, dude, like I'm not going to go out there and fucking cold call. I'm not going to go out there and door knock. It's just not that it doesn't work. Everything works, nothing doesn't. It's not how I want to grow my business. Right. So I want somebody that can then teach and mentor and show me how to grow my business in the way that I want to grow it. And if they're, one of my biggest frustrations in this industry is just the thought process that there's like one path, one solution, right? Oh, you gotta list to last and all great, mega agents are great listers and have massive inventory. No, dude, that maybe was true 30, 40 years ago. No, it's not true today. right? There's thousands of ways to create success, thousands of ways to skin the cat, with that. So, I mean, I think I answered the question.
Yeah, you answered the question and then some. I love it. So let me ask you this then. So you built your business on open houses. If you went into a new market and you'd already identified your target buyer, the demographics, where it's saturated, where it's not saturated, would you still bank open houses as your primary source?
So when we say I built my bit, I mean, that's what I did primarily for my first 18 months. And then after that, it got to the point where I was exhausting so much time trying to get open house inventory from other agents because I didn't have a lot of my own inventory. So then I was like, okay, well, let me start going after expired so I can have my own inventory to get my own storefronts. And that's where I really, but not being, I'm a dude that hates cold calling and door knocking. So I had to figure out another strategy. And then I came up with a much higher converting mailer strategy than I could ever, or anybody that I really know is able to obtain with phone calls, right? Because I want people calling me. Right. So that's where I really got into letters and direct mail, and then that translated into online. I mean, online marketing is just an online sales letter, right? So it's all the same process, but for me, it's inbound, right? I want people coming to me. It's how I grow my business, expand my business. So it's transitioned over the years, but yeah, I mean, for me personally, and I'm not trying to sit there and tell anybody this is the best way to grow and expand your business, because it's not. It's what's best for me. But I love open houses. It's a great way for me to meet with people face to face. I've got the strategy down. It's a great way to connect with people. I'm not trying to sell them anything. I'm not trying to sell them that house. I've got my scripts, my frameworks for it. It's such an easy way to connect with people. Walk in that house. What is it you love about the area so much? I'm learning about them, learning about their kids, learning about what they do for work. I'm creating, like, by the time I leave that open house, dude, we're friends and we're exchanging contact information one way, and usually it has nothing to do with real estate, but I know that it's not about real estate. I don't need to fucking go out there and sell real estate. People are already sold on real estate. What I'm trying to do is develop that human connection rapport with them, get people to know me, like me, trust me, be aware of what I do for a living. And if I have that human connection and relationship and friendship with them, that's going to be inevitable, right? Keep my message in front of frequently. My business continues to grow. So yeah, I would identify. Now, I would say that, yes, I would do open houses if open houses was a strategy that fits in, because you got to, when I talked about ideal client, or the ideal client lead generation strategy framework earlier, you got to look at where they congregate, right? So who's your ideal client for the market that you're in? And you can have multiple different ideal clients, right? But we're looking at, okay, who's the ideal client? What are the demographics? What are the psychographics? So the demographics are the statistics, that's, okay, maybe the, 28 to 45-year-old married couples, on average, 2 kids, right. They're elementary age or younger, making $100,000 to $300,000 in income. Here's the industries that they work in. Here's the zip codes they're buying. Here's the price. That's demographics. Psychographics is the conversations taking place in their head. Okay, here's the type of property they want. That's the demographics. The psychographics are, why do they want it? Why is that important to them, right? Smart marketers enter the conversation taking place in their mind, because sales is all just pain and pleasure, right? People have pain in their current situation, a pleasure they want to get to. We just got to articulate we're the best guide to get them from pain to pleasure. So I need to know the psychographic element. Then from there, I look at where do they congregate? So where do they spend time online and offline? Okay, my ideal clients, they are not on freaking TikTok. So I'm not going to spend any time going out there and learning and being on and posting on TikTok. Not that it doesn't work for others, right? But my ideal client's not there. So okay, I know my ideal client's on Facebook. Right? Some might be on Instagram, but primarily Facebook. They're on YouTube. They're on Google, right? And then I know that for one subset of my ideal clients, they are looking at open houses. So if open houses then fits into that framework of where they're congregating and out there looking at properties, then 100%. But at the end of the day, it's not. I'm not attached to a strategy, right? Like or a tactic. Like I look at it, a tactic is an open house, an expired, a FSBO, mailer, that's just where the eyeballs are. That's just the tactic. The strategy is all the other things I'm talking about with the game plan. I'm really a tactic atheist, right? Like everything works, nothing doesn't. It's what is the best way for this particular ideal client that I'm going after to go. Like, okay, when I was going out there and getting REO clients and so for like, okay, like, dude, open houses aren't going to help me with that, right? When we're looking at our relocation clients right now, because with reload, dude, they're 2,000 miles away. They're not out here driving around looking at open houses. Okay, like, so if I'm specializing and I'm going to niche down on relocation buyers that are moving, from the Midwest or wherever they're moving from here to Arizona, okay, open house isn't going to be my tactic that I go after. That's going to be more YouTube, right? So I'm looking at what is, like, whatever that tactic is going to be based on where they congregate.
Yeah. Now, when you're looking at your tactic and your strategy and setting that up, are you looking at time frame to convert? Because I know that's a challenge for agents when they first get in. Maybe they're doing it part-time. Maybe they've saved some money. Maybe they have zero money coming into the game. and you look at something like a mailer that does have a longer sales process and a longer time to do that, even building a YouTube channel might take a longer time to do that. Does that factor into your decision that's saying, if I need to start generating leads quicker to get a sale or a contract? I know that, there's some strategies definitely need to be avoided until you've got a little bit more cash so you can relax a little, but does that factor in? And if it does factor into your decision, what are some of the strategies you're seeing for agents today that do tend to generate business faster?
Yeah, I mean, open house, they're one of the quickest ways that I've found to get new business. And be like, dude, if I need a client, let's just say a buyer client in the next week. Now there's this big misnomer, a big myth that, open houses are only, for buyers. Look, dude, I mean, we get insane amounts of sellers through our open houses. It's unbelievable, right? But you got to be strategic about how you do them and how you put them on, and so forth. But it's the quickest way that I've found for generating new business to go out there. And if I go do an open house this weekend, or maybe I do 2 open houses this weekend, I know I'm getting a buyer out of that, hands down. Like it's the easiest way I found to generate new business. Now, if you have a sphere of influence, right, that's going to be the quickest way to a deal. So like with new agents I bring on, we come up with their sphere of influence strategies to start tapping into that, because they're going to be able to milk some deals out of that right away. Then we can look at open houses or any type of networking, getting face-to-face, belly to belly, because we know online lead gen is a lead up time. Like the average Facebook lead, we do a ton of Facebook advertising and in our team, is 6.7 months out before they become a client. Doesn't mean that we don't get some today or tomorrow. Like you get lucky at times, but the average is 6.7 months out. So I know, like we got to know what the average time frame is and so forth, so we can deal in realities with this stuff and plan accordingly, but then from there, it's like, there's a couple other strategies that we can go out there and get instantaneous business. I can go to my lender or lenders in my market and just be like, hey, let me call your old leads that maybe they applied 1, 2, 3 years ago. They didn't go anywhere. Let me call them on your behalf. Try to, see if they're still interested in home ownership and so forth, try to get them to reapply, and you get the loan, I get the business, boom, I can revigorate that. I mean, you give me 200 of those, dude, I'm going to convert a buyer lead in the next 24 hours. Same thing. I can go to a top agent, top producer in our market, in our office, without joining their team and be like, hey, what lead? I mean, I got like 90,000 leads in my system right now. They're being neglected, right? Like that, all our agents aren't working at the full level. So, you go to somebody like, hey, let me call some of your old leads that you have that aren't being worked and need that revived, man, we'll split those 50-50. I mean, there's ways to go out there and get immediate now business. When people can't go out there and get, like, dude, if you can't get a client in the next 7 days, you're uncommitted and fucking lazy. Right. Like, I mean, it's knowing what I've shared with you here today. When I look at agents, it's like I'll talk to agents. I haven't closed a deal in 6 months. I'm like, how is that possible? Like, you have to go out of your way to not close it, like to not be closing a deal consistently every single month, even as a part-time agent. You got to almost be working intentionally to sabotage yourself and sabotage your business. Like, it is so freaking easy to be popping a deal a month, even as a part-time agent. That like there's something wrong, dude. There's something wrong with you, your mind, and whether it be maybe that this industry isn't for you, whether it just be that like you just got to pull your head out of your fucking ass and get your shit to work, but if you don't have a client right now, you shouldn't be thinking of anything other than I need to get a client and obsessing how to get a client. So, like little things like when I first got started, I was like, okay, I need knowledge, right? So should I just go out there and pull shit out of the sky and figure out what people want? Or can I be strategic with this? So, and I just bought a house about 6 months before I got into real estate. And I was like, okay, before I bought this house, so when as a renter, I was never at Home Depot. Now that I own a house, I'm there every fucking weekend. So people that like must own a home, are at Home Depot. So I'd go like anytime I wasn't doing open house, anytime I didn't have a client, I'd go out there and I'd grab a stack of cards at Home Depot, pretty much right across the street from my office. And I'd walk up to people in the parking lot, introduce myself to them. Now as a brand new agent. So I'd go to them because I know that people don't want to be sold. So I'd go up to them and I'd have my, Remax name badge on at the time, walk up to them and I'd be like, hey, my name is Joshua Smith. I'm a brand new real estate agent with Remax across the street. I just got my real estate license. I'm not here to sell anything. Like I said, I'm brand new. So even if you were to buy or sell real estate, you wouldn't want to use me because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I actually have a favor to ask you, and so then from there, it just, the favor that I ask them is, hey, I got to gain knowledge about the area, about the market and so forth. So I'm just going out there and just I figure instead of guessing what people want and have questions on, I just go out there and ask the questions, and I'm not going to know right now. Again, I'm brand new. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm 23 years old, never been in real estate. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but it'll allow me to go out there and do the research for you and report back to you with the questions that you have. So what are questions they have, whether it's about the real estate market, whether it's about the general area, new construction, new thing, like what questions do you have? and I promise I won't spam you. Just, you're doing me a favor. I mean, this would mean the world to me. Do you have any questions? And if not, can you make up a question for me? Right. And then I'd brought down those questions and I ask them, hey, I got one more question to ask you, one more potential favor to ask you. Out of curiosity, do you own a home here locally? Well, yes, we do. Well, one of the things I need to learn is how to do valuations on properties. And again, I'm brand new at this stuff, so I don't know how to sell homes yet. So again, you wouldn't want to hire me. I'm not trying to sell you anything because you wouldn't want to use me even if you needed to sell your house. But I need to learn valuations. Now, what I promise you is I've got an amazing broker that I work with that's been doing this for 30 years. I will run this by them. So when it gets in your hands, it will be accurate. But again, I know this is a lot to ask. You're doing a huge favor for me. Would it be okay with you if I did a home valuation and just sent it to you? And it's kind of nice to know how much equity you have in your house and what your home's value is and so forth. Would you be willing to do that for me? Look, the people want to help other people out, right? So then I get that address and then I tell them and I hand them my card and I say, look, so I'm going to get you this information, and so forth. And I really appreciate you doing this huge favor, these huge favors for me. So that being said, here's my card. I want you to keep this on file because I owe you. And I believe in repaying those favors. So I don't care, dude, if you need help moving a washer and dryer, refrigerator this weekend, I don't care what the favor is. You're helping me out now. I owe you back. So you reached out to me, you call me, I'm here for you. And I promise I will deliver on returning that favor. And dude, it led to business. It led to great conversations. It led to, so people are like, I don't know how to generate business. It's because they're sitting on their fucking computer watching fucking YouTube, picking their nose, whatever. It's like, get out there and fucking, you got to meet people, dude. You got to go out there, create friends, get people to know you, like you, trust you, be aware of what you do for a living, follow up with them frequently, and your business continues to grow. It's pretty simple. People overcomplicate this.
Yeah. And stop chasing perfection. I love that whole story. That's the strategy we use for new agents trying to break the mold of how someone sees them in their, their past life before they were an agent. And we do that strategy with our sphere. Hey, I'm just learning how to do property valuations. I want to do a property value, come over to your house, walk you through it, see what you think so I can learn. I love that strategy because you're taking another thing, like you've talked about modeling before and taking a model that works, duplicating their actions, getting the same results. And, Tony Robbins talks about how we can speed up time in the time hacks. If the average agent is doing 4 valuations a month because they don't have a ton of listing presentations, things like that, and I go in and I say, I'm going to do 10 valuations on random properties a day. Well, in the next 30 days, I've done 300 valuations and I've learned from those. And now I can watch those homes that were active. Maybe I go pull all actives and I go back 30, 60 days later and I look to see what they sold for and see how close I was to the value, right? Like there's ways to get more experience than an agent if you follow somebody's model and then do things somebody else. Like your Home Depot idea, you were basically doing a pitch constantly. So you got more experience doing a pitch. Your open house, you got exponential amount of experience walking somebody through a home rather than waiting for that one buyer lead. And now you're going to walk them through and see how it goes. Like I love that.
So in addition to that, not only am I gaining knowledge and experience, right? But this is the part that a lot of people miss. And I just want to really make sure everybody understands the power of this is you're building your database, right? You're building remember, I didn't have a sphere of influence. I needed to build my sphere of influence. I needed to, so now I'm building up a database with these human beings that I'm meeting, that I'm delivering value. Because remember when I said, if the real estate game is to get people to know you, like you, trust me, what we do for a living, fall frequently, and business grows. Well, each and every single day, I need to go out there and get new people aware of me today that weren't aware of me yesterday, offer them something of value in exchange for their contact information. Now they're a lead in my system. Now, the thing of value doesn't need to be real estate related. I can tell you how much I've grown my business from just being at the gym and, talking to people at the gym and giving them advice or them asking me questions. And then we connect that way. I don't care if it's sending somebody a recipe, sending somebody new hiking spots, sending somebody information on tennis lessons that your kids go, just you're building this database, building this list. And then so many people get hung up on, well, then I got to follow up and do it. If your follow-up strategy is every time you check out to people, hey, just want to check in and see how you're doing. If you have any questions about real estate, if there's anything I can help you with your real estate needs, look, yeah, people are going to get pissed off over time. You're essentially just calling them, begging for the business every single time. Right. But dude, when I'm taking this data down, I get to know them. I'm obsessed with, dude, I believe a mandated read for this industry should be How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And you should reread it every single year for the rest of your career because it is the human connection Bible, dude. And it's more relevant today than it was when it was written in the 1930s. I just fall by that, dude. Like be interested, not interesting. So then when I'm following up with people, I don't have to call you, Ben, and make this about real estate. Just, hey, Ben, just want to check in, see how you're doing. How are you and Kim, and the kids doing? Hey, last time we talked, you guys were getting ready to take the kids to go to Florida, go to Disney World. Man, I was just thinking about you. How was the trip? Tell me about it. What was your favorite part? Like law of reciprocity is the number one most powerful law of influence. They are going to ask about you. Yeah, right. They're going to return that. And well, how are you doing? Oh man, doing great. Family's great. Things are great. Real estate market's crazy as ever. Things are going great. I truly appreciate you asking. They're going to ask anyway. And then we could plant those seeds about real estate. And then they might have follow-up questions from there. But make this, when you're doing, like, I don't do my follow-up about real estate. I do my follow-up about human beings, because I understand we're in the human connection, human resource business. So it's all about those. So you're building your database, and now you're building relationships with human beings. Don't even worry about the whole real estate element. Like, they're going to see that in your emails. They're going to know you are a realtor, right? It's get people to know you, like you, trust you, be aware of what you do for a living, fall frequently, and business continues to grow.
Dude, this is so much information. I hope, I can't thank you enough, because it is just like, talking to you is just like, it's a total mind bomb, because there's so much that you're doing and so much that you know. So ton of great tools. I appreciate you doing this, being here, and not just being here, but just being so open and honest and vulnerable and giving. I know you, like, outside of being a great person, you are a great giver. You truly lead with that. And I've seen that throughout our relationship, and anything you and I do together, you lead with giving first. So I appreciate that. But so now I want to see how we can give back to you. How does somebody get in touch with you? Like, what's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you? Because I know personally, I'm an alumni student of your boot camp. I met you when I was scared, just getting started. I became Rookie of the Year. Now $100 million later, I'm still a student of yours. I still follow your stuff. What's the best way for somebody to continue a conversation with you, regardless of where they're at?
Yeah, you can, two places. You can go to gsdmode.com, or you can go to wherever you listen to or watch podcasts, whether it's YouTube, whether it's, iTunes, whatever. If you just search up my name, Joshua Smith, GSD Mode is the name of the podcast. And on there, because look, like, I get everybody's at different positions and levels, and, I'm never one to try to sell anybody, anything. It's I've got 1,400 podcasts and free videos I've been putting together the last, almost decade now. That's on that channel of just, it's funny when you say the whole giving thing. I have conversations with my mom, and she always tells me, like, as a kid, like, she gets so frustrated and so pissed, because I had my friends would come over, and, like, I just give, like, they love my toys, and I just give them all my toys. So, like, I couldn't even buy anything for Christmas, because you just give it all away. And so, I don't know, it's what I feel. So, but I do it for a selfish reason, because it's what makes me feel best about myself is when I'm giving and contributing to others. So, as you guys go there and check all that stuff out, it's not some salesy, I'm not in your face. Like, it's just, tons of information and everything I've learned over these years is given to you guys to help you grow and expand. And my way to give back to an industry has changed every aspect of my life. So, go to the YouTube channel, go to gsdmode.com. It's all on there. And information about my coaching is also on gsdmode.com. If you have questions on that, then you want to check more into that as well.
Yeah. And so all the information for Josh and his programs is going to be in the description, but I'm also going to put, because like I said, I'm a big fan. So I'm going to put some links to some videos that are like my top videos that Josh has done, his top interviews, because there are some that are just killer for all different areas of the business. So look for those in the description. Make sure you like, comment, share. Josh, my friend, truly appreciate you being here. It has been a blast just listening to you. I hope I didn't zone off too much, because I caught myself sometimes, because as you're talking, I'm like seeing different ways that I need to go implement some of these things you're talking about. So I know this is a video people are going to pause and rewatch, because you gave so much information. You truly go above and beyond. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Likewise, man. It was a massive honor. Truly appreciate you as well, and being here, dude. And thank you guys for giving me some of your time today.
Yeah, and I'll see you in a couple months at Alumni. So
yep, sounds good, my brother.
All right, thanks, dude.
Peace.
Peace.